With the recent announcement of the Mario and Luigi series making its long-awaited return this year, I think it's fair to say that Mario RPG fans have been eating pretty good. Within the last calendar year, we have gotten the Super Mario RPG remake, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door HD, and the announcement of Mario and Luigi Brothership. It wasn't long ago that Mario RPGs were at their lowest point, with sporadic releases, often of varying quality. For 6 of the 7 years the Switch was on the market, Mario RPGs seem to have been forgotten. But suddenly, Nintendo opened the floodgates, giving us 3 highly requested releases that many thought would never actually happen in the span of just a couple months. In today's video, I want to talk about the rise, fall, and resurgence of Mario RPGs to figure out how we got here. The very first Mario RPG came all the way back in 1996 on the Super Nintendo with a game fittingly titled Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. The concept of a Mario RPG is not a weird one to us today, but back then this was a major shock to fans. Nobody ever expected Mario to star in an RPG, and the surprises were just getting started, because the game would be a collaboration between Nintendo and Square, who were arguably the 2 most influential developers of this era. With that kind of pedigree, it's no surprise that Super Mario RPG became so beloved. But development wasn't easy, with the developers having to try and find a way to bring Mario's iconic franchise staples into an RPG setting for the first time. One of the roadblocks in development was deciding whether Mario should use magic and weapons as you would expect from most RPG characters, or if they should stick by his recognizable jump and hammer abilities. The team seemingly went back and forth on this a million times, leading all the way up to the game's official reveal. Legendary game designer and composer Chihiro Fujioka recalls being at the reveal event of the game and still not being sure what they were going to go with. So he decided to ask the crowd. He said, "Please clap if you think Mario should use weapons and magic since this is his first time in an RPG game." The crowd gave a small applause. So then Fujioka said, "It'd be way better if he fought with jumps and hammers, right?" And the crowd went wild. So just like that, the decision was made. The developers made the right call here, and Super Mario RPG became a fan favorite for both Square fans and Nintendo fans. The game perfectly blends the style of both companies while still delivering something entirely new. The first thing that struck many players about Super Mario RPG was the dialogue and tone. Mario games weren't exactly known for their storytelling at this point, with very limited writing and characters that barely spoke any actual words. So playing Super Mario RPG was a breath of fresh air, with characters like Bowser and Peach getting full dialogue and much more personality. On top of all the Mario staples, Square added some unique characters of their own with Mallow and Geno. Both of these characters stood out and resonated with players in a big way, which is incredibly impressive when you consider the fact they were lined up alongside Mario. Meanwhile, the game's world was perfect, adapting the Mario universe into an RPG setting flawlessly. The game's killer soundtrack helped too, but the main thing I love about Super Mario RPG is that the developers were allowed to get weird with it. The dialogue here is legitimately funny and adds a quirkiness that hadn't been seen from the Mario franchise before. Many of the traits that made Super Mario RPG so great laid the groundwork for all future Mario RPGs. The biggest example of this is the combat system, which adds simple but effective button presses to coincide with your attacks and blocks. Adding this extra layer of interactivity helped engage players who maybe weren't able to get into this kind of game before. With Mario's audience responding well to Legend of the Seven Stars, and with a successful formula in place, Super Mario RPG was just the beginning. After the rousing success of Super Mario RPG, it was safe to assume Nintendo would continue the series, and initially, that was the plan. The new game, tentatively titled Super Mario RPG 2, was planned as a follow-up, but some things got in the way. For one, Square was no longer an option to develop the game. Square had run off with the new kid in town, now developing games for the PlayStation. With Square and Nintendo's relationship on the rocks, they were forced to find a new developer for future Mario RPGs. Eventually, they settled on Intelligent Systems. Intelligent Systems was a studio that had been primarily just an assist team for Nintendo before this. However, Intelligent Systems had made some games of their own, including Famicom Wars and Fire Emblem. But at that time, those games were unavailable in North America, meaning Intelligent Systems were still pretty unknown to most Nintendo fans. Another issue for the next Mario RPG was that it was initially being developed for the Nintendo 64 DD. As you all probably know, the N64 DD was a massive failure, and all of the games being developed for it were either cancelled or moved back to the traditional N64 hardware. This move back to the N64 hardware limited what the developers could do. This meant the initial idea of using a similar 3D graphic style that was found in Mario RPG seemed more difficult now. original. With technical limitations at play, the team decided to opt for a more cutesy 2D style instead of having to put out a game with low-quality 3D graphics. Through this pivot to 2D, Paper Mario was born. Despite ditching the Super Mario RPG branding, Paper Mario would still follow most, if not all, of the defining qualities found in Legend of the Seven Stars. The interactive combat system returned with even better visuals and gameplay. The companion characters were extremely charming, and once again, the story and tone are unique from the rest of the Mario franchise, even if it does seem a bit safer than Mario RPG. One of the new things Paper Mario added was giving the companions abilities outside of combat for puzzles and traversal. This helped make the partners feel more part of the world than they did in Mario RPG, where they would just appear during combat or dialogue. I think the best thing Paper Mario did was creating this unique art style and aesthetic. It allowed the game to instantly stand out among the countless other Mario games out there. Personally, I much prefer the style of Paper Mario to Super Mario RPG. That's not to say that Super Mario RPG has a bad style, but it was essentially just an adaptation of Mario within the Square style, whereas Paper Mario introduced a brand new look that was unique to it. I would say that originality lends itself much better to a future franchise, but more on that later. 2 years after Paper Mario, another new Mario RPG franchise got its start. This time, it would be on a portable console, coming to Nintendo's Game Boy Advance. Another major change would be the developer of the game. This game, titled Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, was developed by a team called AlphaDream. AlphaDream was similar to Intelligent Systems in the sense that their biggest games had not been released in North America before. But once again, Nintendo showed their eye for talent because the team nailed it. Superstar Saga is an awesome game, building on prior Mario RPGs while adding so many new aspects. The first thing that excited fans was the focus on Luigi. Luigi had been strangely missing from the other Mario RPGs, so seeing him here was nice. This focus on the two brothers was not only reflected in the story, but also the gameplay, with much of the combat and gameplay centering around the two working off each other. Mario and Luigi really leaned into that weird, off-the-wall humor the other Mario RPGs had introduced. I've always been partial to the Mario and Luigi games. I love the combat and the tone. It's everything I enjoy about all the other Mario RPGs, but turned up to 11. After the release of Paper Mario and Superstar Saga, we enter what I consider to be the golden age of Mario RPGs. With two new Mario RPG franchises set in place, it was now time for the sequels, and man did we get some great ones. First came Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on GameCube. What can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? The Thousand Year Door is considered by many to not only be the best Mario RPG, but one of the best RPGs in general. It seems to me like Paper Mario took some inspiration from Mario and Luigi on this one, with the characters and story getting wackier. The storyline is incredibly intriguing, both the mainline Mario characters and the new companions are fantastic here, and the gameplay improves on the original in every single way. The Thousand Year Door being so revered and beloved is obviously a huge compliment, but it would prove troublesome in the future. But first we move back to the portable side of things, with Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. This is actually one of the only Mario RPGs I have never played, so I can't say too much, but I do remember my best friend growing up had it and I always thought it looked so cool. For some reason though, I never bought it for myself, and I sure do regret that now because the game is quite expensive. Despite its critical praise at launch, Partners in Time does seem to be one of the lesser loved Mario RPGs of this era. Whether that be because people don't like it or they just kind of forgot about it, I'm not sure. Regardless, the game was liked at the time and continued the trend of well-received Mario RPGs. Next came a very interesting one with Super Paper Mario on Wii in 2007. Super Paper Mario completely went against all of the conventions that we had come to expect from Mario RPG gameplay. The turn-based combat was gone, replaced by a gameplay style much more similar to a platformer. This is one of those games that has gone through waves of being hated and beloved. For the years after launch, the game received a lot of criticism, with players angry that it didn't follow Paper Mario's usual formula. But when YouTube started and a lot of content creators gave the game a second look, the conversation started to change. Super Paper Mario is definitely very different, but it features a fantastic story. In fact, it might be my favorite story in any Mario RPG. The intriguing use of characters such as the notorious Mr. L helps Super Paper Mario give a really different take on the franchise. There is no doubt that Super Paper Mario changes a lot, and I can see why fans were turned off at the time, but I actually think this game is proof that the Paper Mario franchise can still be successful, even if it doesn't follow the expectations associated with the franchise. After that, we got my personal favorite Mario RPG, Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story on DS. I love this game so much. Featuring all of the things that made the other Mario and Luigi games great, this game also incorporates Bowser in a big way. I loved the gimmick of Mario and Luigi getting eaten by Bowser and working to help him beat their common enemy. The puzzles in this one are so well done, mixing in Mario and Luigi doing things while Bowser navigates the real world. The story is great, the writing is hilarious, and it offers a really unique interpretation of Bowser as a character. In my opinion, Bowser's Inside Story represents a culmination of the prior 10 years of Mario RPGs. Featuring the fantastic refined combat system stemming from the origins of Super Mario RPG, the distinctive style and character archetypes found throughout Paper Mario that set them apart from the mainline entries, and the comedy that Mario and Luigi is famous for are all represented here. After so many incredible releases in a row, Mario RPGs had shown they had staying power, and with two successful franchises running at the same time, Nintendo fans eagerly awaited the next Mario RPG. This is the part of our story where things take a turn for the worse. After the release of Bowser's Inside Story, we didn't get a new Mario RPG for a few years until 2012. Yes, it's finally that time in the video where we talk about Paper Mario Sticker Star. Sticker Star is a game that I won't spend too much time ranting about because countless other YouTubers have already done that, but yeah, I hate this game. I was young when it came out, and honestly, it was an epiphany for me, because when I was young, I thought every game was good. I just thought if it was a video game, it was fun, and I liked it. And that held especially true for any game that had that red guy with a mustache in it. And so I remember when Sticker Star came out and reviews were kind of bad, I was so confused. Mario games can't be bad, I thought, but then I played it, and for the first time I realized video games actually can suck. Sticker Star is bad for a multitude of reasons, starting with the awful combat system. It takes away everything that I thought was fun about prior Paper Mario games. But hey, they tried something new and it didn't work out. I can't fault them too much for that. The bigger issue is really the lack of personality or character found in the game. The world is boring, giving off the vibes of a new Super Mario Bros. Game. There is grass, desert, lava, all the things you would expect from any other Mario game. The story and writing is bland, lacking any of the attributes that defined all of the prior Mario RPGs. The iconic companions are gone, replaced by a single character who leads you through the game. There is just truly nothing interesting here. We did get one final sign of life from Mario RPGs with Mario and Luigi Dream Team releasing on the 3DS in 2013. The way people feel about this game seems mixed, primarily due to the fact that the game has a lot of yapping, like even more than normal, and that turned off a lot of people. Personally though, I always liked Dream Team. I appreciated the quirkiness of it. The gimmick of Luigi sleeping was reminiscent of what I loved so much about Bowser's Inside Story. While there are certainly some valid complaints and criticisms about Dream Team, I think it is undeniable that the game stays true to how Mario RPGs should be. With Dream Team's release, Sticker Star seemed like it was just a rare miss and nothing more, or so I thought. Unfortunately, Sticker Star would become the trend as opposed to an outlier. Two more Paper Mario games were released after Sticker Star, with Color Splash on Wii U and Origami King on Switch. Both games are better than Sticker Star, but they do feature many of the same problems. Color Splash continues the trend of having no traditional companions and a generally boring world. Meanwhile, the Origami King has a combat system that I really dislike and made me wish Nintendo would just go back to the way it used to be. In general, these modern Paper Mario games feel hollow, and it just feels like no love or passion was really put into them. To me, it almost feels like Nintendo only made them just to say, we have a Paper Mario game on this system. This decline in Paper Mario coincided with an era of Mario that many define as the boring era. It was an era where New Super Mario Bros. Dominated and Nintendo was playing everything pretty safe. They didn't seem interested in having weird Mario games out there. They wanted everything to be uniform and easily recognizable. So what this led to was the deterioration of the Paper Mario franchise that we saw with Sticker Star, Color Splash, and Origami King. Developers of the Paper Mario series have actually blatantly said that Nintendo added new mandates on what they could do right around the time of Sticker Star. This mandate is why you may notice that all the NPC toads, for example, are just their basic designs. This mandate from Nintendo harmed the Paper Mario franchise in a very deep way, taking away all of its personality. Meanwhile, the Mario and Luigi franchise was in an even worse place. After the release of Dream Team, we got another new entry with Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, a crossover with Paper Mario. I've never played this one. I was so jaded by the recent Paper Mario games that I really had no interest and was honestly pretty annoyed that they had merged Mario and Luigi with it instead of letting that franchise stand on its own. Funny story though, I actually wrote this entire script and then realized I completely forgot to mention this game. So I think that right there describes describes the way I feel about it better than anything I could have written. After Paper Jam, we never got another new Mario & Luigi game. Sales of the franchise had been decreasing with every new release. Bowser's Inside Story had sold 4.5 million copies, but Dream Team only managed half of that. And then Paper Jam did even worse, barely scratching 1 million copies sold. With the future of the franchise looking shaky, AlphaDream tried to make some quick cash by releasing 2 remakes on the 3DS. The first being Superstar Saga and the next being Bowser's Inside Story. Both of these releases were a bit head-scratching to say the least. They came during the awkward era early in the Switch lifecycle where Nintendo was still supporting the 3DS with new releases. Now, the Superstar Saga remake wasn't too egregious, but the Bowser's Inside Story remake was so strange. It came out in 2019, nearly 2 full years after the Switch had been on the market. And for those paying attention, Bowser's Inside Story was a DS game. And all 3DS systems had backwards compatibility with DS games, meaning anyone who owned a 3DS could just play the normal version of Bowser's Inside Story already. So surprise surprise, the 2019 3DS remake of a game that was already playable on the consoles it's being released for bombed. It's one of the worst selling Mario games ever released, second only to a Mario vs. Donkey Kong game on the Wii U, and I'm not even sure that that game is real. But either way, to this day, I have no idea why these Mario & Luigi remakes were made the way they were. Like I said, I can accept Superstar Saga because that was released in October 2017, which was super early in the Switch lifecycle. And Superstar Saga was a GBA game, meaning it wasn't playable on the 3DS before. But there is no reason why Bowser's Inside Story ever should have been released the way it was. I do understand why they chose to remake it because the game was the most popular Mario & Luigi game, but why not put it on the Switch? You know, the Switch, the console that was selling like hotcakes and couldn't play Bowser's Inside Story through backwards compatibility. Now, obviously they released it on the 3DS simply because it was easier and quicker. They already had all the sprites ready and they wouldn't have to figure out how to translate the game onto a system that only had one screen. But unfortunately, this attempted shortcut just did not work out. The colossal flop of Bowser's Inside Story on 3DS was the last straw, and AlphaDream was forced to file for bankruptcy. And so just like that, the Mario & Luigi series was dead. With Paper Mario games just going through the motions and Mario & Luigi's developers no longer existing, it seemed like Mario RPGs as we knew them were gone forever. Okay, wait, you there, typing that comment right now, stop. I'm not going to ignore Mario plus Rabbids. I could argue that Mario plus Rabbids isn't really an RPG, but I'll count it because I know everyone would comment if I didn't mention it. I haven't played Sparks of Hope, but I did really like Kingdom Battle. It definitely does have a lot of the characteristics of the prime Mario RPGs that I miss. Regardless of how you feel about the Mario plus Rabbids games, their existence kind of proves the entire point I'm trying to make about this era. I don't mean this as disrespect, but the fact that the best Mario RPGs released from 2014 until 2023 were developed by Ubisoft should tell you all you need to know about the state of that franchise. For most of the Switch's lifecycle, we got almost no Mario RPGs. With just Origami King and the Rabbids games, it seemed like Nintendo had given up on the concept entirely after the string of bad games, but suddenly something changed. In June 2023, Nintendo made the shocking announcement that they would be remaking Super Mario RPG for the Switch. This was a game that Nintendo fans had been dreaming of for years, but it was also one that most had assumed would never actually happen due to licensing issues. But somehow Nintendo worked it out and will be fully remaking the game in collaboration with many of the same people who worked on the original. After so many years of Nintendo putting out Mario RPGs that refused to follow the original formula that fans loved, seeing Super Mario RPG return was such a great feeling. It felt like Nintendo was acknowledging that they understand people still want the style of Mario RPG, and that was a wonderful thing to see. As fans geared up for Super Mario RPG to release in November 2023, Nintendo dropped another giant surprise on us. At the end of September 2023's Nintendo Direct, Nintendo had one more announcement to share. As the book opened and faded into the intro of the Thousand Year Door, Nintendo fans everywhere lost their minds. Super Mario RPG was surprising because of the licensing, but I honestly think the Thousand Year Door remake was even more surprising. I say that partly because the Thousand Year Door definitely didn't fit into Nintendo's previously mentioned mandate of what could be done in Paper Mario games. And I also say that because I had assumed Nintendo wouldn't really want to acknowledge that game ever again. Because for 20 years they tried to make a Paper Mario game better than it and never could. And every new game they made, everyone just always said it wasn't as good as the Thousand Year Door. So I felt like Nintendo might view it as them accepting defeat by remaking it, almost admitting that they can't make anything better. But I'm so glad I was wrong, and I'm so glad the Thousand Year Door is finally finally playable on modern hardware. A lot of fans felt like Nintendo re-releasing these two classic Mario RPGs was their way of testing the market. Everyone keeps saying they want Mario RPGs to be like this, but will they actually sell? Well, as it turns out, Nintendo fans put their money where their mouth is and supported these games in a big way. As of December 2023, Super Mario RPG had already sold 3.1 million copies. Considering it's been 8 months since then, it's safe to assume the game has sold much more than that. Meanwhile, The Thousand Year Door has sold nearly 2 million copies since its release just 3 months ago. To put this in perspective, Paper Mario the Origami King has only sold 3.3 million copies since its release all the way back in 2020. So I think it's fair to assume both of these remakes will pass it in lifetime sales. If that doesn't tell Nintendo that the fans want old school Mario RPGs back, I'm not sure what will. Nintendo acknowledging this era of Mario RPG was a huge step in the right direction, and I hoped it was a sign for the future. As it turns out, that future came a whole lot sooner than I expected. The June 2024 Nintendo Direct started with the jaw-dropping announcement of a brand new Mario & Luigi game. When I tell you that I jumped out of my seat at this announcement, I mean it. Even after the classic Mario RPG remakes, I never thought we would get Mario & Luigi back, considering the original developers are defunct. Now, I'll be honest and say I am a bit hesitant about this game since it will be a new dev team. To be clear, I'm sure the new dev team working on it is more than capable. I would have had this trepidation from any developer who isn't AlphaDream making it. But regardless, it's heartwarming to see this franchise I love so much come back, and it further solidifies that Nintendo got the message and understands the kind of Mario RPGs that we want. For so many years, Nintendo just refused to give us that for some reason, and kept trying new things that just weren't working. Some fans argue we've been too hard on modern Mario RPGs, but I really don't see it that way. It's not a matter of new things equals bad. It's a matter of the new things actually being bad. The new perspective and love fans gained for Super Paper Mario was proof that fans can be open to something different if done correctly. But the thing is, for the last decade, things weren't done correctly. That's why seeing this recent resurgence has been incredible. As we head towards Brothership's release, and as we inch closer to the upcoming Switch successor, I can only hope Nintendo will continue this trajectory. The fans have done their part, supporting the games they had spent so long begging for. Now it's time for Nintendo to hold up their end of the deal, and supply us with some original Mario RPGs that would make the Golden Age proud. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this retrospective on Mario RPGs. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. And I would love to hear what your favorite Mario RPG is in the comments below.